Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-host, Shannon Lane, Newmark, Knight Frank, Drew Hanlon, Pat Riley, USI, Ethan Milrod, Go-To, and Dave Stuncifer, Herbine & Company. And we have a great lineup of guests for you on our show today. Ethan, will you please give us the rundown?
Sure, Herb. We have a great show ahead. We have John Teza, President and CEO, Hand and Stone Franchise Corporation. Bob Peppelman, founder and CEO, RJP Consulting Group. Greg Cathcart, CEO, Excellis Health Solutions. And Jason Weldon, President and CEO, Synergetic.
Excellent. Let's get to know our first guest, John Teza, President and CEO, Hand and Stone Franchise Corporation. John, what is Hand and Stone Franchise Corporation? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, Hand and Stone is the premier massage and facial spa franchise in the world.
Perfect. And where are you from originally, and how many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
Yeah, so I grew up in Brick, New Jersey, down the shore in Ocean County. I've got two older sisters and a younger brother.
Excellent. Ethan.
John, tell us, what was life like growing up in Brick, New Jersey, like 8 to 14? What was life like for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, Brick's a great town, middle class, played a lot of sports. We lived near the beach, spent a lot of time at the beach, and spent a lot of time with family.
Yeah, what kind of sports did you play?
Played everything, really. Primarily the big three, basketball, baseball, and football. And I would say my, real two big focuses were basketball and football.
So John, what was your position on the football team?
Yeah, I was an offensive and defensive lineman. By the time I played in college, I played at William & Mary. And by the time I got to college, I was exclusively an offensive lineman. So
what's special about an offensive lineman?
Well, if you know anything about football, you know that sort of the offensive line is kind of a team within a team. You're not a lot of glory. You don't get your name in the paper. It's all about sort of protecting and advancing the overall team cause.
So, John, what does that tell us about you as a leader?
Well, look, I think I think a lot of who I became as an individual and as a professional came out of being part of playing offensive line. I mean, you're part of a collective. You're counted on to do your job within the context of the overall group of offensive linemen.
Excellent.
And that you do the dirty work.
Drew?
And how about mom and dad?
Drew's the signal's a little broken there. How about mom and dad? What did mom and dad do for a living?
Yeah, so dad was a New Jersey State Trooper, graduated retired as the number 5 guy in the state police, retired as a major. He was a high school dropout, got his GED in the Navy, got into the state police when he got out of the Navy, and spent 25 years carving out an incredible career there.
Mm-hmm. Drew, you back? How about mom? How about mom? What was mom all about?
Yeah, mom ran the show at home. 4 kids over. We were pretty tightly distributed over a 5-year period, and so a lot going on. And
I understand. It sounds like you got a lot of respect for dad being the number 5 guy with being a New Jersey State Trooper. What's that respect? What's that have to do with the way you're building your team?
Yeah, look, I think I learned a lot from my dad. He came from nothing, immigrant parents, and what he did with his career you couldn't do today. The hard work, the work ethic that he put in, the intention that he put in.
Gotcha.
He cared about people. He cared about his teams, and I try to emulate that in how I run my businesses.
John, in the green room, you mentioned Coach Wolf, who was not only your coach but also the mayor and your neighbor. You said he had an influence on your life. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, Coach Wolf had a huge influence on my life. I was fortunate enough to play in one of the premier football programs in the state of New Jersey, small little Ocean County team that Coach Wolf really single-handedly built. A ton of tradition. All the coaching staff came from the program. They played for him. One of the winningest programs in the state. And Coach was just an amazing guy. Again, hard work, grit. We were typically undersized. We were never the most talented teams, and yet we won a lot. And I think that's it was kind of a metaphor for the way the town developed. And Coach was at the central, kind of the center of it all. I was fortunate that in addition to being my coach, he was also my neighbor. And so he took an interest in me from a relatively young age. I used to go to high school basketball games with him when I was in 7th and 8th grade. And I just learned a lot about the program and the way to build an incredible culture. He had a huge influence on me.
And looking back at that relationship now, what did that mean to you? Well,
I mean, look, it was for him to take an interest in me at a young age, and for him to expose me to the sort of the nature of the program and what he was trying to build, had a huge impact. It also taught me that you could have a voice at a relatively young age. I think we'll talk a little bit later about the nature of position and influence and in leadership. And, I think that was it was probably my first exposure to the fact that you can lead from anywhere within an organization.
Pat?
John, how old were you when you first started making money?
So I've had, I had a paper route. I mowed lawns when I was a kid. My first real job was probably 14 years old at Martell's Bar and Grill on the Point Pleasant Boardwalk. Started there. My sister was waitressing, and so I got a job at the corner pizza stand. And before I knew it, 4th of July weekend, I was on the corner grill.
John, what'd you do different than all the other kids that had that job?
Yeah, showed up, worked hard, super intentional. I think I was probably too stupid to realize that I didn't belong in the role that I did. I think it was the first of many roles in my career where I was put into a leadership position prior to really being ready to be there. But you know what? You stand up, and when you're 100 deep after the fireworks go off on 4th of July, all you can do is
what's that have to do with what you're doing nowadays?
Well, I think that's kind of that's one of the things that really informs my leadership style. I mean, I do believe that leaders can lead from anywhere within an organization. I don't think leadership comes from position. I think it comes from influence. It comes from what you show up and do every single day. It comes from the intention and the quality of your work. So I think you can lead from anywhere within an organization, and that's what I try to build within my teams.
David?
John, you mentioned you're the third of 4 kids, and also that I was intrigued with that offensive lineman. Both of those lead me to think you might have felt a little unseen or maybe unheard in your youth. Do you think that caused you to want to break out and become a leader?
No, look, I don't think it certainly wasn't a need to be noticed. I'm a big guy. I garner a fair amount of attention just sort of naturally. I don't think it was a need to be noticed. I think I've always had this call to lead. I've always felt like in any environment, there's an opportunity to be somebody who sort of directs the attention or creates direction with an organization. And I don't think it was from where I fell in birth order. I don't think it was necessarily from what I chose. Maybe what I chose was more of a reflection of the type of leader I wanted to become.
Mm-hmm. Shannon, there was some other stuff that came out in the green room earlier. You want to go over that with John?
Yeah, John, I mean, when you walk into work every day, what's your inspiration and why are you doing what you do?
So, look, I think franchising is the most powerful wealth creator in the world. I think it levels the playing field. People come, everything from first generation Americans to, individuals who have who only have enough sort of money to rub together to get a unit open, whatever that happens to be, have the ability to go create wealth. And so I think franchising is an incredibly powerful force in wealth creation. I think as franchisors, it's our job to, what I like to say is that our franchisees are not building our dream; they're building their own dream using our platform. And I try to live that every day in what I do.
Mm-hmm. It sounds to me like that's sort of the philosophy where you're talking about you don't have to come. A leader's not necessarily in the front. A leader can come from anywhere. It sounds like that's what you're looking for with and for and giving to your franchisees.
That's exactly right. I mean, the reality of a franchise system is that the heavy work that's being done in terms of the brand expression to the consumer is being done by the franchisees. It's our responsibility to make sure that we continue to uphold the business model and put our franchisees in the best position to succeed.
Mm-hmm. What do you find filling about your role? It says here you're the president and CEO of Hand and Stone Franchise Corporation. What do you find filling about that role?
Yeah, so I've been involved in fast-growing franchise companies my entire career. I love to see brands grow. I love to see sort of the spread of the mission. I love to see brands become adopted and become really important in the lives of the consumers.
What's the website address for a Hand and Stone Franchise Corporation?
So the website's handandstone.com, and to learn more about the franchise, it's handandstonefranchise.com.
We've been speaking with John Teza, President and CEO of Hand and Stone Franchise Corporation here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com. We'll be back in a moment right after this break. Don't go away.
Want help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on the show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com.
We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. I'd like to introduce Bob Peppelman, founder and CEO of RJP Consulting Group. Bob, what is RJP Consulting Group? What do you do?
Good morning, Herb. We're a national construction management company for people like 7-Eleven, Starbucks, TD Bank, KFC.
Mm-hmm. Where are you from originally, and how many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
For the first 8 years, we lived in Delaware County and then Chester County.
These are suburbs of Philadelphia, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Uh-huh. How many brothers and sisters?
3 of us total. I was the oldest.
All righty. Drew.
Bob, what role did sports play in your youth?
I love sports. It was a big part of everything I did. I played all kinds of sports and loved football and played lacrosse in college.
What would your teammates tell us about you?
Willing to do the hard work, good teammate, high integrity, high work ethic, dedicated, committed.
What do you bring to work every day from those experiences on the field?
I think it completely relates. So I really am a big believer that sports brings dedication, commitment, integrity, and teamwork to the job site.
Mm-hmm. Ethan?
Bob, you mentioned earlier that you moved at a young age because your dad had a love of the outdoors. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What was his love of the outdoors about?
Yeah, my dad was a big trapper in the Tinicum swamps around the airport growing up, and he loved it so much he would go in the morning at 5 a.m., get his traps, bring his rats home, and then go to school. And so he wanted to get a little piece of heaven out in Chester County and bought 4 acres, and we did a lot of hunting and fishing growing up.
You hear about a special bond oftentimes between a dad and a son when the dad takes the son hunting and fishing. Did he do that with you?
Yes, that's what we spent most of our time together was either hunting or fishing.
Yeah, how young were you when you were doing that?
We started early. So it was, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, getting out there in the field, beating the bushes, getting the game out. So it was a lot of fun.
And what impact did that have on you? In that time with your dad?
Really sharing time with my dad was, I always wanted to please him, just trying to do anything I could to make my dad happy. So, making sure I beat the bushes right, making sure I learned how to shoot, doing all the things that he would give me an attaboy for.
How does that relate with what you do with your clients today, Bob?
Well, it's all about serving our clients. I mean, when you hear the customer's right, we really do believe the customer's right. And so serving the client and serving my employees is what we try and do best.
Shannon?
Bob, tell us about Mom and what she was like when you were growing up.
My mom was, my parents were old school. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and trying to do everything with a little for all of us. We really didn't know we didn't have much until later in life. We figured it out. But so Mom always made the most out of very little for us, and we never went without.
She must have been really resourceful.
Yeah, she was resourceful. I had to wear arm pads out of clothing that she would sew from the furniture that she would take off for football. So I'd show up with these nasty arm pads on, but it didn't matter.
And Bob, where do you see this sense of resourcefulness show up in you today?
Again, for our customers, I think if we can be resourceful, keep our pricing down, we can be competitive. That's how we work in the work world and at home, making do with what we have and being content.
Pat?
Bob, you mentioned sports were everything growing up. What sports were your favorite?
I love football. I love football because of just the teamwork and the camaraderie, and everybody has a job on the football team, and even the lowest guy who doesn't even get on the field, it's all about practice and making the guys ahead of you better. So I love football. It's a great sport.
What positions did you play in football?
Later on, I played quarterback and cornerback in high school.
And what it being the quarterback of that team sport, how does that carry over to what you're doing today in your business?
I think, realizing that it's the guys around you that allow you to do your job. So a quarterback's job is most reliable on the people around him. He is the most exposed. He can't do it without the guys performing around him. And so, it's me giving back to the guys around me and serving them and leading them so that they can do their job.
David?
I'm hearing a guy that came from obviously humble beginnings, and you're clearly showing a lot of humility. How do you think that translates as you lead your team today?
Well, RJP is only as good as our people. And so, and we can only serve our customer as well as our people do. It really is not about me. It's about me giving our people the tools they need to serve our customers and about them getting the job done. So, our leadership in our company is all about serving our people around us.
You've mentioned service several times. Where do you think that desire to serve came from?
Well, I think it's my Christian background. Jesus Christ was a servant. And so if we want to emulate him, we need to be servants as well. And so servant leadership is where our bread's buttered.
Wait a minute. So you bring faith into business?
We bring faith. It's right in front of everything we do. We pray at meetings. I am not shy about our faith in Jesus Christ and what we do.
Tell me a little bit about how your faith has helped you build this business.
Well, when you have difficult times like 2020, and you start out the year with 50 people, and now we have 15, you have to get through it somehow. And so we rely on that rock.
Huh. Wow. And let's see. Ethan, didn't you have another question there about grandparents or something?
Yeah, Bob, earlier in the green room, you were telling us a story about your grandfather and the impact that it had on you. Can you tell us a little about him and what he did and what effect he had on you?
Yeah, so both sides of my family, my grandparents were hard workers and had little. My mom's side, my dad was a milkman. My grandpa was a milkman. On my dad's side, my grandfather was an entrepreneur, worked hard. He had the first license for Shell Oil, so he would deliver oil via oil trucks with only 5-gallon buckets. There was no hose, so my grandfather would be carrying 2 5-gallon buckets of oil to houses all day. And so that work ethic and that entrepreneurial spirit was a big part of what I think I'm made on.
Yeah.
Sure. Drew, what else are you thinking?
I just want to go back to the sports. When you were playing sports as a youth, did your father have the time to show up and watch?
No, my dad never watched any game ever.
What was the impact of that?
Just going, we talked about it when I got home, and he would ask me about the games and those kind of things, but he worked a lot, and so he was never available, and I understood that. So we didn't play sports back then for our parents. We played for ourselves and the enjoyment of it and the love of the game and the guys around us.
And we were talking in the green room. You have some kids. Were you able to see your kids play?
Yeah, I never missed a game. Coached my kids in all their sports. I coached 20 years of college, 20 years of high school lacrosse. And so
what do you think that meant to your kids to see you on the sidelines?
They loved it. They were extremely thankful. I would travel everywhere, especially when my kids were playing in college. We traveled everywhere to make sure we didn't miss a game, whether they were playing or not.
Right. And what does being there for people mean to you?
Yeah, that commitment is huge. It's why I go in the office all during COVID. It's why we always make ourselves available for our employees.
Does your team at your office know you're always going to be there for them?
Absolutely. We're I love mentoring young people. And so that's the biggest thrill of building this company is mentoring our young people, giving them chances. We take risks on people, whether they have a record in jail or wherever they come from. If we see something there that we can work with, we want to take a risk on young people.
Bob, what does that mean to you? Having the opportunity to mentor others. How does that make you feel?
It brings me a lot of joy. And quite honestly, I'm trying to hold it together right now.
Do you have an opportunity to talk to some of the people you mentored after they've come a long way and see how they've progressed?
You don't really know the impact you're having at the time until a player that comes back from 30 years ago and says, remember when you did this? And you said, no, I don't remember. He goes, well, it changed my life. I'm like, well, that's good. Tell me what I did so I can do it again.
Sounds like you really had a positive impact on others. Would you say that's one of your legacies in life? I've
been blessed. I think, it's a legacy, and I've been blessed with good coaches and mentors myself. So really blessed with that.
You mentioned earlier that you were trying to keep it together. So this really is very emotional for you, this giving back, this camaraderie. It's really who you are, isn't it?
Yeah, I am. I'm passionate, and a lot of times my passion gets in the way, but we try to keep it.
What's a website address for this organization, RJP Consulting Group?
www.rjpcg.com.
We've been speaking with Bob Peppelman, founder and CEO of RJP Consulting Group here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com. We'll be back in a moment right after this break. Don't go away. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Greg Cathcart, CEO of Excellus Health Solutions. Greg, what is Excellus Health Solutions?
Yeah, Herb, we're a healthcare consulting company in the pharmaceutical industry around the supply chain.
And where are you from originally, and how many brothers and sisters were you in the pecking order?
Yeah, grew up in Horsham, Pennsylvania. I'm number 5 of 6, so there was 6 of us total.
And Horsham's a suburb of Philadelphia. And Ethan.
Greg, what was life like being 5th of 6 kids?
Ethan, as you can imagine, I think we chatted early in the green room because you have similar family background. A lot going on in my life, so a lot of times you were just kind of taking care of things and living the day.
Can you say you started working when you were young? How young were you?
I had some. I had some older brothers who took me caddying when I was young over to country club, so I did that probably from 6 or 7 years of age and, even all the way up through high school and college.
Tell us, when you were caddying, Greg, did you have an opportunity to talk to the people that you were caddying for?
Yeah, no doubt about it, right? If you think about who's playing in private country clubs, executives of companies like ourselves and others. So, yes.
Do you think of some lessons or you learned, some things they shared with you while you were caddying?
Humility, relationship building, sense of humor.
Would you say
golf's not always a great sport for some people, so you got to be able to laugh at yourself sometimes.
Yeah, would you say those are traits that show up for you today as the CEO of Excellis Health Solutions?
I do. There's no doubt about it. It formed me a little bit.
Drew?
Greg, tell us about your father. What was he like?
Yeah, my dad was a sales guy for probably 35 years after he returned from the Korean War, and he sold lifesavers and chewing gum.
And what was the benefit of that job for you?
Yeah, like we chatted about earlier, he always had a lot of samples that I would able, take into the schoolyard and sell to the kids and make a few bucks on the side.
And did you tell us your dad would take you on sales calls with him?
Yeah, he did when I was young. And again, I don't still to this day remember why it was me versus others. I guess I wanted to go. But yeah, he would take me when I had days off of school and things like that. I'd go with him on sales calls.
I was going to ask, what do you think it was in you that he saw that he had the trust to bring you on sales calls?
Not really sure, because again, it's not something we really discussed. I just liked going and watching what he was doing and seeing how he was interacting with people.
And how did that experience impact what you do today?
I think there's no doubt about a lot of what I've done in my career has been in the sales and marketing side. So I've learned how to interact with people all the way back from what he did with me.
Mm-hmm. Pat?
Greg, you said that growing up you loved playing all kinds of sports, and as you got older, you were kind of more drawn towards golf. What was it about golf that took your interest?
Yeah, it's a great sport, Pat, and it's something you can play. I think I probably started as young as 6 or 7, and you get to play till the day you die. In fairness, it's one of those sports, football and others, that I played as well. Stuff you just can't play as you get older.
That's interesting you say that. So it sounds like you're a bit of a planner then.
Yeah, I do like to plan things, no doubt about it. It's kind of what my background was.
So how do you think that's affected your business?
It has a lot. I mean, what we do is a lot of planning of programs for companies that are launching drugs, as an example, in the pharmaceutical industry. And those programs are, years worth of work sometimes for them to get a product out to the market.
I understand that you recently went through an acquisition.
Yeah, we were fortunate in this crazy world of pandemic last year to sell our company to a multinational publicly traded company out of Denmark.
Mm-hmm. So
about 6 weeks ago. Yep.
So in order for you to go through this acquisition, there was quite a bit of planning that was needed?
No doubt about it. We had looked, we started the company 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I started the company 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we had, and I always say because 50% of the company I gave away to the employees over the 10-year period. So everybody really had some equity in the company. But we knew 2 years ago we were going to start the process of getting ready. Mm-hmm. We were going to go out a little bit earlier, but then pandemic hit, so we waited till the end of the year.
Uh-huh. So I understand you probably did pretty well. You don't really need to work anymore, do you?
Financially, no. But, from a personal point of view, it gets me, motivated in life every day.
Wait a minute. I thought the American dream was, you get enough money, you go to Florida or you retire. That's not what you're planning on doing?
Everybody has different dreams. I certainly will have a place in Florida, I'm sure, someday. And down the beach, I have a house today. But still, I need to get up every day and go do something, accomplish something.
Didn't you tell me that you started a little side activity, which is doing some investing in startup businesses or something like that? Well, why are you doing that?
Correct. We've got an investment club up here in New Hope. Yeah, there's about 6 of us on it. To us, it gives us an opportunity to help entrepreneurs, right? People that need a little help from a financial point of view early on. And
you give them any advice?
Yeah, we give them advice. We sit on boards, right? I'm on 2 of the company's boards today, so absolutely give them a lot of advice.
So in order for someone to attract investment from you and your buddies, what are you looking for in the person? What are you looking for in the person or the deal? What's important to you?
Yeah, and we talk about it all the time. Because we're investing in really early companies. Since the last night, young kid, former Marine, we invest in the jockey, right? There's no doubt about it. Because these companies are ideas, but we invest in the person, right? Because we see that they have the ability to take it somewhere. Doesn't mean it's going to be successful, but they have that ability.
So you're looking for the right person as opposed to the business plan.
Yes, both. Don't get me wrong, but there's been many business plans written by some of the greatest, MBA students that still sit on desktops today.
Mm-hmm. Co-host, what other questions do you have for our guest, Greg?
I'm wondering, Greg, back when you were younger, being 5 or 6, being 6 kids, did you ever sit down at the dinner table and what was that like?
No, we did. Believe it or not, again, traditional Catholic, Irish Catholic family, we always had dinner generally every night at 6 o'clock, right? And even to this day, some of my cousins will call me and they'll say, I know you're eating dinner because I eat dinner generally every night at 6 o'clock.
What were the dynamics like at the table with all those kids?
That's good stuff. My brother putting the cream spinach in his pocket because he didn't want to eat it, asparagus getting, things like that. But you can imagine 8 people at a dinner table. When the food hit the table, everybody was reaching for it.
You think you took any life lessons from that time together?
Yeah. I'm a father of 3, my wife and I, so we spend a lot of time. Kids are 2 of them out of the house. One's a senior in high school, but as we can, we love to sit down and have dinner together.
Tell us, what's the similarity, Greg, between being a CEO of a company and being a dad of 3 kids?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I've got 120 employees and probably half of them are under the age of 30. So there's a lot of youngsters out there that, need help, need guidance, need support. And if they're willing to come, jump in and be part of that, I love it because it's fun.
So what is the similarity between being a dad and being a CEO?
You're leading to a point, but you're also building camaraderie, right? I want my kids to tell me every day what they're doing, thinking in life, which they're not afraid of. And I want my employees to do the same thing.
Give me that again.
I want my kids to be open with me, and I want, my employees to be open with me. So don't be afraid, right?
So you're not the kind of dad or CEO that tells people what to do, and if they don't do it, they're fired?
No, not at all. You're just not successful, in my opinion, if you're telling people what to do. You need to get people to tell you what they're trying to do to be, again, entrepreneurial within our company and help us grow, right? Simple as that.
So it sounds like you're really looking to get the right people involved so that you can give them their head.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I like people with good education, but that doesn't mean everything, because that means they're generally pretty smart. And I like people that aren't afraid to take a risk.
And so you're about open communication. It's like with your kids, you want to have some open communication. You want to have open communication. Same thing with your teammates. To get the right people in the right seats on the bus and let them rock and roll. Yeah,
because if you can do that as a leader, and I know my other colleagues on the call, it makes us better. It makes it easier on us, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Does it make it more enjoyable?
Yeah. I would say if you ask 90% of our employees, they'll never leave this company because, one, they're financially making some good money, don't get me wrong, and they all have a little stock, but they also come to work and have fun every day.
So you want your team to come to work and have fun every day. Well, what's the website address of your organization?
It's excellishealth.com.
How do you spell that?
Yeah, EXCELLIS, and then the word health.com.
We have been speaking with Greg Cathcart, who's CEO of Excellus Health Solutions here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. It's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. Stick around. We'll be back in a moment right after this quick break.
Want help building your business with help from this show's CEOs? Our CEOs can help you uncover more opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that. They've succeeded in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars, and some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. The same CEOs you've heard on the show for 10 years may be willing to help you build your business, uncover new opportunities, grow your sales, connect you, help you raise money, all the big issues, because our CEOs have been there and done that, succeeding in creating millions of jobs and earning millions of dollars. And some are available to advise you. Now, email mentors@executiveleadersradio.com. That's mentors@executiveleadersradio.com.
We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. I'd like to introduce Jason Weldon, President and CEO of Synergetic.
Synergetic, that's it.
What is Synergetic? What are you guys doing?
We are an audiovisual company that provides audio, video, and lighting for live events.
Mm-hmm. And how large or how small is the firm?
Prior to COVID, we were about 65 employees. Right about now, we got about 8.
Uh-oh. Where are you from originally?
West Philadelphia, which most people will know from the TV show, and now currently live in Northern Liberty, Center City, Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. And how many brothers and sisters, where are you in the pecking order?
I'm the oldest of 3. I have 2 younger sisters.
Okay. Drew.
Jason, can you tell us a little about your father?
Yeah, my father was a police officer for 20 years. And as I grew up as a child, he had a lot of side businesses because the police force wasn't paying all the bills. So he was a landscaper, snowplow, sold belt buckles, and did anything that he could to try and bring some more money into the family.
And didn't you tell us you were involved in the belt buckle selling?
I was at about 8 or 9 years old. I was the first salesman of his growing company, and I was responsible for trying to sell belt buckles to regular people who didn't want belt buckles in New Jersey.
What did that experience teach you?
It taught me a lot about how to sell something that somebody may not want, and learn how to dress, how to talk, the right words to say. And I figured if you could learn how to sell a belt buckle to somebody, you could pretty much sell anything to anyone.
And what was the impact of that experience on what you're doing today?
You had to give up your weekends. You had to get up early. You had to go to work. You had to work hard at trying to do something, and you had to learn what it is that you were trying to sell.
Drew, Ethan.
Jason, can you remember back how young you were when you first started producing, directing, and organizing things?
Yeah, the very first time was at a church picnic that they needed a sound system for. They needed music to be played, and they just needed a sound system. So I took my parents' sound equipment, went over and set it up and did it for free. And from there, I was pretty much hooked on it.
Yeah. What'd you learn from that experience?
That you always need to find a way to get paid, no matter what it is that you do. And free work just gets you more free work.
And that started your love of audiovisual work?
Yes, in a nutshell. I took that and had become, my next step was to become sort of a DJ, start the company as a DJ in my late teen years. And then throughout my 20s, realized that I can't really do much more with that. And I really appreciated the sound and lighting and the video that was on all of these events that we were doing.
Mm-hmm. Shannon?
Jason, in the green room, you mentioned there was one book in particular that has really had an influence on you. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, my family I was one of the first people to go to college, and I didn't take any business classes. So I came across this book, Good to Great, from Jim Collins. And it was one of the most influential books of building my company and where we are today.
Tell us more about that.
Well, the opening line of the book is good is the enemy of great. And I really just thought to be able to have a great company, and it was being recommended by so many people that line had hooked me. One of the great philosophies in that book is the mirror window. And I've always taken that philosophy with me, that when there's a problem in the company, you look in your mirror at yourself. And when everything's going great, you look out your window to everybody that's working for you. And most CEOs or entrepreneurs tend to do it the opposite way.
Mm-hmm. So when things are going, whatever's going on, you're responsible for. You co-created it, huh?
Yeah, I like to say that I started to use the word we instead of I very early on, even when it was just me. And I always got asked that question a lot. Why do you keep saying we? And I was like, because eventually one day there will be a we.
Mm-hmm. Pat?
Can you tell us a little bit about Mom, Jason?
Yeah, my mom is a perfectionist. She doesn't let you get away with just doing something mediocre. And when I used to cut grass back in the day with my father, my mom would, and I tried to do some myself, do a couple lawns myself. My mom would come out and look at him and say, that's not a good enough job. And to this day, she still makes sure that everything that we're doing is as well as I possibly can be doing it.
And how do you think that shows up in your business today?
I'm probably a little bit more of a micromanager because of that. So I can certainly work on those skills a little bit, but it allows me to make sure that the buck stops with me, and that even when we think something is good, there's always 1% that we can get a little bit better at.
David?
Jason, I'm fascinated with a 9-year-old hustling to sell belt buckles and setting up DJ gigs at a church. Where in the world did you get the confidence and motivation to do that?
My parents, each of them take credit for it. I don't. I just always have been the type of person that wants to take a risk. From earliest back that I can possibly remember, just risk didn't scare me, and it was something that I enjoyed, as well as dancing to Michael Jackson. So maybe it was Michael Jackson and the Thriller record that did it.
Andrew?
Jason, you told us earlier that you took a fairly small $20,000 loan and turned it into a $6 million business. What would you tell someone out there that has a dream but doesn't know exactly where to go with it?
That it's discipline. It's one of the biggest words that I try and instill in other entrepreneurs that I'll talk to, that it's not going to come tomorrow. It's not going to come next year. It might not even come in 15 years. But if you absolutely love it, some way, somehow, even if it fails, something else may come about from it. And you'll be able to look back and say, I got to where I'm at today because of this decision that I made 20 years ago.
So follow your dreams, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And do what you're good at. Follow your dreams in something that you're good at.
You mentioned one of the reasons you were able to build a $6 million firm from a $20,000 investment was because you set up systems. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there's another great book that I read called E-Myth that probably every entrepreneur has read. And that was a great way for me to try and understand how that you got to get out of the way as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And if you can create the right systems and then remove the obstacles from those, and just consistently remove the obstacles from those systems and get them better, you can be able to be home at 5 o'clock and be able to go into work at 9 o'clock if you want to. So systems was something that I just worked on from the very, very beginning to say, I'm going to document every single thing that we're doing. And then I'm going to get better at documenting it and better at documenting it so that the business can grow and I can be removed from it.
So I thought the idea with being a DJ was figuring out what music everybody would dance to. It sounds to me like you're doing that in terms of building the team as well, figuring out who the right people are and then figuring out how to motivate everybody with the right processes and systems in place. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, we started really, it's two different businesses there. It was the DJ business 15 years ago, and for now it's an audio visual business that unfortunately I can't be everywhere and I can't do everything. So you have to trust your team. And the only way you can trust your team is by being able to document what needs to be done on a daily basis.
Trust your team. I don't usually hear that word about business. I thought business was lawsuits and suing people and screaming and yelling. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, when you have John Legend that is going to be setting up at a concert and you're responsible for everything and every aspect of how he looks and sounds, and you can't be there, you better have a good team and that you better have been able to document as to how they're supposed to do the things that in my head, how I would envision it to be done. So it's not necessarily about lawsuits and selling companies and trying to get over on other people. There's a real passion as an entrepreneur.
I guess the good thing about starting your own business is things stay the same. You start the business and it just keeps on going, right?
Yeah, well, not for me. I mean, this company's been through 3 different transitions, and at the same time, it's been through many transitions of employees. So you got to be able to be nimble and be able to understand that you're going to grow as an individual. The business is going to grow as an enterprise, and be along for the ride. It's such an exciting and fun ride to see where it goes and how it grows. And that's a really exciting part as an entrepreneur.
What is?
Just to know that tomorrow could be different.
Wait a minute. That's frightening, isn't it?
No, not for me. Not for me. I want it to be different tomorrow. If it's the same as today, then we didn't do anything to challenge ourselves to do something tomorrow, especially for COVID. I mean,
what's the website address of this organization known as Synergetic?
Yep, sslproductions.com.
Let me have that one more time.
sslproductions.com.
We've been speaking with Jason Weldon, President and CEO of Synergetic. Ethan, can you give us a rundown on who else we've had the opportunity of speaking with today?
Absolutely, Herb. We've had a great show today, including John Teza, President and CEO, Hand and Stone Franchise Corporation, Bob Peppelman, Founder and CEO, RJP Consulting Group, Greg Cathcart, CEO of Excellus Health Solutions, and Jason Weldon, President and CEO, Synergetic.
I would like to thank my co-hosts, including Shannon Lane, Newmark Knight Frank, Drew Hanlon, Pat Riley, USI, Ethan Milrod, GoTo, and Dave Stone Cipher from Herbine & Company for giving me a hand structuring the questions, hopefully providing our listening audience an educational and entertaining show. I'd like to thank our listening audience for listening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a radio show. Thank you for joining us today, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.